What's up, homies? Welcome to another episode of the Mandalorian podcast. Very excited to be talking about Chapter 10, The Passenger, directed by Peyton Reed, which was very, very fun. Look at Hector's fun little figure of the child, who was a little son of a ding-dong in this episode.
Yeah,
I had a really hard time.
He's a little travieso in this episode, dude.
I don't know what that means, but it's probably troublemaker.
That means troublemaker, and he definitely would have got a pow pow from me for sure. Definitely some chunkla action.
A chunkle to the forehead.
Definitely a fly swatter to the booty. Something like that, because this little guy, I swear.
He could not even help his dad when his dad was like, "Mijo, come over here on the side of the left
Exactly.
of the thing on the side.
Help me change this tire.
Help me change this tire on the side on the left.
More
Esa
lefter.
chingón.
More lefter.
I need that thing to weld up the thing on the side, mijo."
Useless.
I just want to let everybody know, too, we normally talk about spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen our reaction or the episode yet, watch the episode for sure. Then check it out. Check it out with our reaction video, and then come back and check out the discussion piece, because we will be talking about spoilers. And I would say, like, compared to the first episode, we talked about how there's so many Easter eggs and all these great things, and they like dropped this big Boba Fett thing. This episode didn't really have that. This was very much more centered around what's the mission. The mission is Mando needs to get the child back, and we ended up picking up back on Tatooine. For a second there, I thought we were going to go into like Boba Fett territory, and I wasn't sure where the episode was going to go.
Right.
We go back to Mos Eisley.
You mean when it opened with that twin sons again, and we're in the desert, and he's flying by? It's like, are we about to see that silhouette of that iconic character again? But instead, it was that string. I wasn't nervous. You guys were all nervous, and I was like,
stress as hell.
And then they fell, and the baby fell out, and we were like, oh shit.
That's standard booby trap techniques that they get you every time.
Especially on a planet like Tatooine, like at this point, after all these years, we're like, yeah, this makes sense. This planet has a lot of these sort of like booby traps and a lot of theft and all that sort of stuff.
A lot of scoundrels, I would say.
A lot of
scoundrels and scoundrel activities. Scallywaggity that's going on over there.
There was like so many fun bits too with like the Steve, the scoundrel, is like trying to get Mando to like basically give up all of his army. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll give you the jetpack.
Yeah, don't worry
and then
about
activates it, and
Don't worry about it.
Mando knows exactly what kind of shenanigans he's getting into and how to get out of them.
Absolutely. Is there anything that stuck out to you guys in this episode that we haven't seen before, as far as like maybe a storytelling technique or just something cool that stood out?
I would say that, and like it's kind of surprising to me that it's a Peyton Reed directed episode, because it very much like leans into horror, and I'm not used to seeing Peyton Reed do that.
Has he ever directed a horror or a comedy horror or anything like that?
I don't know. Maybe he has at some point during his career. I mostly know Peyton Reed from obviously the Ant-Man movies, and then from Bring It On. I'm like not well versed in his filmography outside of that. So it's very possible that he might have done some horror comedy.
Definitely has not. The closest he's come to is The Breakup, starring Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston. So
okay.
Was that so bad though that it could have been qualified as
a horror movie?
It was just so depressing and not fun to watch two people break up that I remember being like, why did they make this a comedy?
Oh, dude, then don't watch Blue Valentine then, because that'll wreck you.
Because that'll get
I would say that probably that was the biggest thing that I noticed is like we've done ice planets, we've done monsters in caves, things like the Wampa. They're scary, but this was straight up like we called it. We were talking about it like while we were doing the reaction. Yeah. Like we're straight up going into an episode of Alien, and this is a Ridley Scott moment, and you're like, this is going to be horrible. And then sure enough,
Sphincter Spider shows up.
I love that question though, Augustine, because I'm sure that if and when I rewatch the episode, and I love watching it for the first time with you guys, and then going and then watching it with my girlfriend to get her reaction, and rewatching it and trying to pick up on stuff, I'm sure that there's going to be things like certain filmmaking styles or techniques that has never been seen in Star Wars, no matter how subtle it is. For example, I've never seen that frog species, that alien species frog lady, who was the MVP for me of this episode. But I don't know every single little thing about Star Wars, which is cool. But on the filmmaking level, I'm sure there's stuff. On the sort of within the universe of Star Wars level, I'm sure there's stuff, and we can talk about that. But nothing is jumping out, just because I was really invested in that story of like, get this lady to where she needs to go, get Baby Yoda to stop eating those gosh darn eggs. No. And then run away from the spider.
Absolutely.
That's a hungry baby.
That baby is I swear,
That baby
man,
needs
he
an
stressed
extra
me
large
out.
pizza with every topping known to
Absolutely.
man to just like
He's
be
eating
occupied for
he's
5
eating
hours.
those eggs like pickled bar eggs, and it's not good.
Jeez, man.
One thing
Look.
though that did stick out to me in this episode is, and they did this in last season too, but sort of like the casual conversation that they were having with Mando and the X-wings when they first pulled up on him. They're like, "Yeah, we can wait. Don't worry about it. Just activate your thing," because it gives a lot to me. It gives a lot of personality and character to characters that you usually see going, "Oh, I got a bogey," or like they're really stressed out and they're about to die, and you don't really get to see these people interact as humans. And so Dave Filoni showing up with another guy.
Paul Sun-Hyun Lee.
He's from the Canadian sitcom Kim's Convenience, which I haven't
Okay.
seen yet, which also stars
I
our
hear it's
future
great.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shang-Chi.
Simu Liu is in it.
Simu Liu is in that show.
Ah, cool.
So, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I really like how they give those characters a lot more personality. And to me, that just adds another layer of depth because it's kind of casual and it's just like, oh, these are just people. Like I can imagine Dave Filoni in that character going home and saying like, I almost caught a Mando today, like to his wife.
Can you switch over to the second channel? Copy that.
Copy
It's
that.
just
Yeah.
so cool and casual.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you do me a favor and switch over to the private channel for a second? I need to talk to you for a second.
Roger.
Those guys were talking shit the whole
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
they knew Mando
Exactly.
could hear it.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
Where does he think he's going in this atmosphere? And Mando's like,
He's like, and Mando's like, ah. Yeah.
I think
so-
I loved that element of it too. And I know I said it quite a few times, probably annoyingly. I was like, this just reminds me of classic Star Tours.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
very much embraced like
there's literally a
weaving
drop
and
in the
dodging
ice,
and-
dude.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
remember
drop.
when it like pivots over and you go further and Hoth.
Yeah.
You know what that
So
brings me
good.
to the point though that
Yeah.
like this is very effective storytelling because we felt like we were going on this ride. Like there was moments where my skin crawled when the spiders started showing up because it is
Ugh.
that creepy. Like
Ugh.
when the xenomorph eggs started opening up and it looked really
Mhm.
gross and you saw the baby eat one of them. That
Mhm.
was not a situation I ever thought I'd ever see the baby in, but it's fine because it ended up being really cool. I love the action
Yeah.
sequence. At no point of that sequence did I question the CGI or the effects or anything. I'd actually be super interested in seeing how they pulled that off in the volume.
It looked like Baby Yoda's puppet was being utilized, and then they would use
Yeah.
CG to kind of smooth things over.
Yes.
Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Where like
Mhm.
his hands could maybe come up to here.
Yeah.
So then they like did it, and then I think they had the hand come in and grab the spider,
right.
and then he's moving the spider, but it felt like it was base level. We have the puppet doing stuff first.
Yeah.
And then we will use CG, but I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
I wasn't questioning it. I was buying into the reality.
Mhm.
I know he's a puppet, but also when he ran, when he did his little
When
run.
he did the run.
So cute.
Yeah, that run was awesome.
I think the other thing that I was like very, very impressed with was when they're going through the caves when they're going through the caves themselves, because we've seen them build just very specific set pieces within the volume, and then the rest of it kind of extends out. It's so seamlessly done that like if you were to tell me that that whole cave was a set, I would totally, completely, 100% believe you. But then if you told me it was like half of a set and half a volume, I'd be like, man, I cannot tell where the seams are. It is so seamless, which I think is like such a testament, again, like just like the last episode, to how well they've perfected it. And even like the CG model work on the ships, when the Razor Crest and the two X-Wings are, flying through the sky, it's just so impressive watching the detail work. And on top of that, obviously building the cockpit of the ship as a set piece within the volume.
Right.
You have like the lighting and the clouds and like
Interact with it.
yeah, just like the
Let me,
occlusion and all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Let me be real about something.
Be
Watching
real,
that
son.
shot
Be
where-
real,
where
son.
the-
be real, be real.
You try to kill my father, man. When the X-wings pull up to
Uh-huh.
to the Razor Crest,
Uh-huh.
I almost had the thought of, I feel like those X-wings could look better, but
Mhm.
it's almost as if they were trying to match the aesthetic of the rough early CG from the 1997 special edition
Yeah.
and New Hope. You know what I mean? With all of those shots that I think probably were
Make you feel like
updated
it's within
incrementally.
continuity.
But it's almost like I'm like, oh, this almost feels like the special edition of an
Mhm.
older movie where they did
Yeah.
update the CG, but it's still an older movie.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
is a very impressive visual thing to try to chase, and I feel like they pull it off.
I feel like you just made Dave Filoni smile.
Because give him a big
Something
old
tells
bony.
me that he was like, that's what I was going for.
I'm sure all these nerds are there. All those beautiful, lovely nerds that work in the visual effects departments for this show are probably like, okay, that looks good, but does it look too good? It does. We need to make it shittier. I love that. It's so good.
Please put the shit filter pass.
It's too polished.
Also, like, I'm very intrigued by the story and the objective of the Mandalorian, who is constantly just trying to like find his people and reunite with his people. And it's like he gets a breadcrumb. He's got to go to this planet. Another breadcrumb. He's got to go to Trask. He gets completely sidelined by this like side mission. And now we like don't know. Will he even make it to Trask in this third episode? Is he going to have to like, go off the radar
He's
again?
limping,
Is
yeah.
Yeah, he's like limping his way through space, which like also anytime Mandalorian's like, I'm gonna take a nap, I'm like, bro, you are just floating through space.
How can you take a nap at this time? Yeah.
Listen, the if we're comparing some of my favorite universes, the denizens of Star Trek treat being in space very seriously. And that's the whole thing is it's us, it's humans, it's the future. They treat it very seriously. The denizens of Star Wars are way too casual about being in outer space all the time. Guys.
Anytime they crash land somewhere, Ewan
that's
McGregor
fine.
turns to the camera, another happy landing. You're like, my
It's
God.
like, what
You're
are
dead.
you talking about?
It's
You're
I feel like
80 billion light years from anything.
I feel like Sam Rockwell in Galaxy Quest. I'm like, can you even breathe here? Do you even know?
Just, ah!
Yeah. I want to say one more thing too that this show is doing really well is making me really like characters that I spend very little time with, and in this case it was the Frog Lady. You immediately like the character design of her, like the big eyes. You immediately recognize her as a mother trying to take care of her children. Even that language was just like, yeah, that's a great look. Hector's
Mando's like,
already
is that Huttese? Ole, 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 ole. And
Hector's
like,
already fluent, not like Latvian.
But no, you're right.
It's a really good
great
job.
design.
Yeah.
Great design that we see in the beautiful like concept art for the end credits, but it's a design that I think we would have seen in a Star Wars movie, but only as a background character.
Yes.
And the fact that this show forces us to spend a little bit more time with these kinds of designs for characters than we normally would, to me, they, just like Augustine, they shoot to fan favorite. They shoot to, like, I'm at like Cobb Vanth, Frog Lady, bro. Like Frog Lady is so great. Her
She's
cool
neck and
design
neck,
with the
She's neck and neck.
neck and neck. It's like with her little backpack with her babies reminded me of like that cool puppet design that they built for Force Awakens of the guy with like the beard who was holding all the stuff in that, in the back. Imagine if there was an episode of The Force Awakens where Finn spends 30 minutes with that guy. We'd be like, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what Frog Lady ends up turning into. And just the shot where the ship is dropping and she's in the back like it's so relatable. It's so fun. Yeah, where she's like,
She's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
with Cobb Vanth and Frog Lady, like we're 2 episodes into this new season, and I completely like there were moments where the Frog Lady was like trying to explain what's happening, using the droid, and even prior to using the droid's translator, that I was like, man, I'm like very emotionally invested. It could very much be kind of what's happening in the world. Everyone's feeling really emotional, but I was like, man, I like really feel for this character.
No, you're not the only one,
I'm gonna
Adam.
feel,
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel really, really sad if something happens to her,
Right.
because we were kind of starting to speculate, like, okay, is she gonna die? Is this gonna be like the sacrifice? Is Mando gonna be stuck with like a child and some eggs that he has to like get to the
That the
get to her
child wants
husband
to eat?
fertilize? Yeah,
He's
and I'm
gonna
just
go
like, this is gonna
deliver
be
to the husband, and the husband's gonna be like, and he's gonna have to be like, I'm sorry, she died.
dead.
I made sure, your children are here. Like, yeah, absolutely. When she rewired the droid, that's when she went to, she's one of my favorite characters, because she's not this sort
She's
of
not helpless
character who's stuck behind a very interesting concept. Characters in Star Wars, they can't understand one another. That's interesting as it is, but thankfully the show was like, no, we're going to give her a lot more sort of agency and not leave it just up to Mando to kind of like figure stuff out. I was even thinking, like, is Mando going to do, because he knows Tusken Raider sign,
Right.
whatever
That's what I
that
thought
language
too, yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he going to do some kind of, because he's smart and capable too, and I'm sure he could have figured out a way, but his party was like, go to sleep, take a nap, there's nothing we can. And this lady was like, no, mijo, listen,
mijo.
wake up.
Mira, mijo, these babies are going to die. Okay?
Pendejo, wake up.
Pendejo, it's cold, and they don't have that Mexican blanket with the tiger on it. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Then we get to that whole sequence with the spiders, and that was where I like emotionally, I don't want to say emotionally checked out, but I was just like, I hate this. I just want to, I want to burn the whole, I want to burn everything.
Just burn the
That
Razor
was so
Quest, get a new one. Yeah.
stressful.
It was
Because
so
it is,
effective.
It literally is that situation of like, he's walking through the Razor Crest after like the initial shootout, and you're walking through, and I can't remember which one you said, but I was like, there are still spiders in there.
Absolutely,
for
they're
sure.
still crawling around for
And
sure.
you're just
I'm
like,
sure,
no.
I'm sure they laid eggs.
I'd like to think that the way that like family of spiders worked was that the big one was the mother, the queen, the head honcho, and that the mediums or bigger ones were like teenagers, adolescent, and the babies were babies. So it's like, look, maybe those spiders aren't going to lay eggs until they get to that size. What do I know? What do I know?
You don't know
Who knows?
nothing.
Star
You
Wars,
don't
man,
know
anything's
nothing.
possible, I
It's-
guess.
So it was so effective in getting that PG-13 level of horror movie,
Mhm.
exciting
Mhm.
fear. You know, Peyton Reed did a fantastic job, and I think ultimately I did enjoy episode 1 more because it was just a totally different vibe. It was
Yes.
epic, it was fun, and it ended on a cliffhanger that broke our buddy Adam's brain.
Mhm.
But this one was so much gosh darn fun.
I completely agree. I think episode 1 was big, epic, and it was a nice return back into the world and with some great teases and Easter eggs. This one I liked. The thing I think I liked about it so much was we got, as opposed to the last episode, we spent more time with the child. We got to develop a new character again, and we got to know not necessarily know a little bit more about Mando, but I think we just got to spend like these little nuanced moments with him and a different type of character than Cobb Vanth.
They did not show her intelligence for no reason. She rewired a droid to translate her language. She's smart. She's probably brilliant as far as like droids and electronics and engineering go. So yeah, I think we're gonna see her do some cool stuff.
But guys, let us know in the comments below what you thought about Chapter 10, The Passenger. Jump over to Discord, continue the conversation there. Links are always down in the description below. Make sure you guys like the video if you did. Subscribe. Let's get to 10K. Let's get to 10K.
Get to
Let's have
10K.
time.
That's a good, yeah. let's
10K
get to
and a giveaway, maybe?
Maybe.
Ooh,
That
okay.
might be fun. That might be fun.
That'll be fun.
Thank you guys so much for watching. You can also find all of our social media down below as well. And we will catch you in the next episode.